The one and only Alyssa Orange with us on the Lewis Automotive Group hotline on a Tuesday afternoon, in which I just saw this, Alyssa. How did the bread pudding go last night?
Oh, it was so good. So I'm pretty much obsessed with bread pudding to where, like, if it's on the menu, I will order it. And I am on a mission to, like, find the best bread pudding ever. And then I realized, like, I've never tried to make it. So I did it for the first time last night, and it turned out really well. I'd change a few things. I think it was like a little too eggy. So I'd use a few less eggs next time, but it was still delicious.
I like my bread pudding to be really soft in the middle, not too much sauce on it. I had the perfect one at this restaurant that I've really really love in Athens, Georgia, the other night after the game Saturday. Blueberry lemon bread pudding, crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, no sauce whatsoever. It was absolutely perfect, Alyssa.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Oh, my gosh. So there's a restaurant in Omaha that has some of the best bread pudding I've ever had. And that's one of my favorite things when we go to Omaha is to go to the restaurant and get bread pudding. It's on the to-do list every single time we go.
Yeah. All right. So let's bring up Omaha. Let's get into college baseball here.
Perfect.
So to me, there's series losses, and then there's disastrous series losses, which this last one against Georgia was not. All it showed is that the team is human. They're not going to win every series, and maybe that's a good thing because the last Arkansas team that did
concept.
Exactly. But what do you glean from this last weekend against Georgia that maybe taking forward you'd like to see something improved upon?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I took away from the weekend at Georgia was, this team continues to still battle regardless of what's going on, and they're never out of a game. And for them to lose the way that they did in those games on Saturday and Sunday, just heartbreaking fashion on a check swing by Ryder Helfrich and then a walk-off home run in the 12th. I mean, heartbreak is going to happen like that in baseball, but they weren't blowouts. They weren't embarrassing losses. And there's a lot to take away from what you saw. Now, I think offensively, I know that Dave would love to see a little bit more consistency in the middle of that lineup, and I understand that. I think that's the biggest thing you take away is can they just kind of get back to being consistent offensively? And then with the pitching, they're just going to have to answer some questions. I think that Dave's going to make some changes with Gabe Gackle on Saturdays. What kind of opportunities are other guys going to get? But with pitching right now, how can you kind of get a guy maybe out of the bullpen to step up in a starting role and make some adjustments that's going to find you success down the stretch? Because I think everyone knows, Phil, you look at this schedule, it's not going to get any easier with the series you have coming up here.
At what point in the season do you start to think this team now is what we've seen? And I remember the conversation in an opposite way last year where you just like, all right, sooner or later, they're going to break out. Offensively, this team's going to start swinging the bat the way we thought they would, and it really never happened. And I remember thinking at about this point of the year, when you've played 4 or 5 SEC weekends, you are now what you are, and that's kind of how you're going to win games. And for me, this team is what they are, really good.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. And that's where you have to be like, look, like you're going to lose baseball games in the season, and you're going to have a really tough series on the road, and Georgia is the best offensive team in the country, and they played Georgia really well because they are a very good team. And so we talk about this a lot with the basketball team, like don't hit panic yet. They've got a lot coming up, and I'm curious to see what they look like. But they're a team that can beat anybody on any weekend as long as things are going right for them. And even if things aren't going perfect, they can still win baseball games with their pitching and with their offense and their defense. And there's really not a weakness, right? Like there are going to be games where one isn't firing on all cylinders, but they don't have a weakness, which is what I think this team had last year when you talk about their offense. Like, I think we can look back and say this offense wasn't what we thought it was, and that really hurt them down the stretch because the pitching was able to carry them in games when their offense wasn't. And then when the pitching started to kind of fall off a little bit towards the end of the season, the offense wasn't there to bring them back into games. And so this team is really talented, top to bottom. they haven't proven us wrong yet, Phil, and I think you're right. Like, this is what we're going to get, and this is a team that can beat anybody on any given day.
Hey, Alyssa, did you watch Sunday at the Masters where, Rory becomes the sixth player to win the Grand Slam? As young as he is, I think it solidifies Rory as being an all-time top 10 great, maybe even better when his career's done, but certainly puts him in the top 10 list ever to play the game. What were your thoughts, and what do you think it does for Rory's legacy?
That was pretty incredible, truly. I'm not going to say I called it because I didn't, but I think a lot of people going into the weekend really were rooting for Rory. And I've been a Rory McIlroy fan for a really long time. And to see him do that, I think all of us watching got emotional. Even if you weren't rooting for Rory, I mean, it was just beautiful and poetic. And, man, like, you thought at one point he had it, and then he lost it, and then he had it again, and then had to play in the playoff. And there was just emotions all over the place. And I don't think you could have written it any better. Maybe he could have just won and made that putt at the end and not had to do a playoff hole. But it was one of the most emotional times I've had watching a sporting event in a really long time, because you just root for a guy like Rory, who's, one, just a phenomenal golfer and does things the right way, which, in golf is kind of the ultimate thing. You just go about your business in the right way. And then he's just a good guy to root for. So, I don't think that there shouldn't have been anyone watching the Masters upset with the way that it ended on Sunday.
Do you see that a lot of the photos that are being used by news organizations from the Masters were shot by Ken Griffey Jr.?
How cool is that?
Like he's the one who got he got the shot of Rory on his knees and he's pounding the ground and he's crying. That's a Hall of Famer getting a shot of a Hall of Famer in his, like, career-defining moment.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It was pretty incredible. Man, I love that Ken Griffey Jr. is just like, I'm going to throw a bib on and I'm going to be a photographer. Like, he's one of us, guys. He's one of us. You got to love it. And for him to get the press passes, to be filming Major League Baseball games, and to go to the Masters and do the state. I mean, it's so cool.
I love that the big unit. Of course he got in. Of course Randy Johnson got in. But you realize he's got an unnatural advantage over all the other photographers at every sporting event. If you're 6'10", I think you're going to get a really good perspective.
Yeah, that and you're never going to get turned down for a credential request. like Ken Griffey's going to be able to film whatever he wants.
Yeah, there's that
too. No one's
too.
saying no to him.
Great when you're hot, when you're maybe as good as your hobby as you were in what you did for a living.
Right.
Portal opens tomorrow, Alyssa. I just have a sense, and the whole Nico Iamaleava thing just plays right into it, obviously, because now he's jumping into it. But that's the ugliest thing of this whole spring. What's happened? Nice cat in the background there, by the way.
I'm in my garden, and this stray cat is just hanging out with me, but he's so sweet. I don't know where he came from, but he's very friendly.
He might need a home, or either that, or he's got some thoughts on the football portal. You want to ask him?
Yeah, maybe I will. Yeah, what do you think, buddy?
No, but I have a sense like
the cute little black cat.
Nobody knows what to expect tomorrow because we don't have any rules. There's no regulations. The House settlement hasn't been approved. And I don't know if it's going to be approved anytime soon. It sounded like maybe at some point, but that's this portal is open for I think 9 or 10 days, and who knows if it's even approved by then. And if it is, does that mean automatically then just the rules go in place? So for me, this portal season right now, this one will stand alone from all of the others, just because it's uncapped. There aren't rules, and I feel like there will be surprises.
Yeah, it's the last one without rules is what we're anticipating, right? And so kind of it marks, okay, this was the end of the free-for-all, and then the next go-round it'll have some regulation. But it's just, it's so hard to wrap your head around fully everything that's going on, because it's constantly feeling like it's changing. It's constantly like, oh, well, this is happening. There's no way it can get one-upped. And then, of course, we find out all the Nico stuff, and I just really don't know what to expect. And that's where we are right now with the way that college athletics is sitting. There are no rules. There's no rhyme or reason sometimes to guys deciding to leave. It could be something to where, after a conversation with a coach, they feel like they can have more success somewhere else, which is usually how it happened back in the day. It's, hey, man, we love you, but we really think you could go somewhere else and have some more success. Or it's something where, oh, you don't want to pay me, or I'm going to hold out, and now I'm leaving. And it's really unprecedented, and I've kind of taken the stance, and I had for a while, of just stepping back and watching it all play out, because my opinion is going to change day to day. And it did when the portal opened for football in December, and it did when the portal opened for basketball last season in Cal. Like, my opinion changed every day because of everything that was happening, that it's really hard to form a opinion and stand by it from where I sit, because something else is going to happen that's going to change my mind or change my perspective, or I'll read something else and say, oh, okay, well, that makes sense in this situation, but it doesn't really make sense in this situation.